Hi, I'm Alex and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a place where I talk about what I've been knitting and sewing each month, and I've got a few bits to show you. This was supposed to be just a short and sweet episode to show you a gift that I made for my friend's baby shower, but I've actually filmed that this morning before I went to the baby shower and showed you the hat and mitts, and the footage is really dark and really grainy, which is disappointing. So I'm coming back for round two. I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you an update on my Asina sweater. I'm going to show you, I'm going to put in the footage that I took earlier of the mitts and the hat, talk you through the patterns that I used, and yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of other bits that I've got that have been in the works. So I'll start by sharing what I'm wearing. So this is the Fibre Co 1 sweater pattern, and I've done mine with a nice long ribbing on the cuff and on the hem. It's got a nice crew neck, quite a high crew neck, and I've knit mine in the canopy fingering in the obsidian colourway. So I'm going to leave details for the patterns and the yarn that I'm talking about today, because this is a really luxurious blend. I can't remember exactly what's in it, but I'm going to look it up and leave the details below. Because it just feels amazing. It is a yarn that pills, so I am well aware that when I wear this it is going to pill. So I've got my sweater comb and I have an electric little handheld shaver that shaves off any pills. So I've got all the tools I need to care for it. It doesn't bother me that it pills, but I just thought I should mention that. It's really nice because it's warm and it's very fine. It's not bulky at all, so I really like wearing it under coats, especially. Like, I've got a trench coat that I really like to wear it with, something where the sleeves and the shoulders are quite slim fitting, so I can't really wear it with something bulky underneath, whereas this is really cozy because of the content of the yarn, and it fits really nicely under coats and jackets because it is a fingering weight yarn. And it's a very simple pattern with raglan increases, and it's knit from the top down. I have worn this so much since I made it. It's a really nice classic piece. I'm glad that I knit it in this black shade because I don't have a lot of black in my wardrobe, but sometimes you just want a kind of little classic sweater, and this ticks all the boxes for me. So as I said, I'll leave all the details below. There'll be a link in the description, and it will take you over to my blog where there'll be a list of all the patterns and yarns I talk about today. And if you want to get those show notes straight to your email, there'll also be a link where you can actually sign up to have show notes sent to your email. So every time a video goes live, I send out an email to everybody on that list, and they can see right there everything that's been talked about in the video that day. So if that's something you're interested in, you'll find that there. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'll quickly chat to you about the gift that I made, and I'll put some photos or some footage somehow from this morning in here so you can see that I was showing you. I made the hat, which is called For the Tiniest, and it's by Cindy McDonald, and it's a hat that I showed you that I had knit for my friend's preemie babies. So you've seen that pattern before, but I've knit it in the newborn size. I think it's really cute in this classic white shade. So I have got the yarn here in one of my little sock sacks. This is what I was using for the project, and the yarn was Cascade Heritage, and that is a 75% merino, is it? Yeah, superwash merino and 25% nylon blend. And I have knit it in the white 5682 shade, and it's a very cool white. So there's a few white shades. I think there's one that leans warmer, more of an ivory, and one that leans a little bit to grey, but this is a very cool, clear, very white shade. So I've used that for the hats and the mitts, and the mitts pattern is the Rebel mitts from the Making Stories kids collection, which is actually now, I've noticed, available in a print copy. I think about a year ago I got the digital version, and it was really kindly gifted to me by the Making Stories team, and you will have seen me talk about that recently because I was knitting those mittens for my nephew in the yellow and white stripes. So I'll have to show you those another day because I'm actually making a little bit of a modification to the thumb on those. So in my last video I did mention that I'd done one and I took it over to show him, and it was a bit difficult to get his thumb in the hole, so I'm going to just make it wider because it's so fiddly. He's only, well, he was born in February, so not this February, February before, so he's a 1 year old, and yeah, it's really hard getting gloves and trying to get his little thumb in the hole, so I think it would just be easier if I go back and make that thumb a little bit wider. But these ones, they don't have a thumb for the newborn size, and it was a really nice gift to knit. I think they make a lovely set, this little hat and mitts, and you'll see I've made this little tag where I've printed just with some rubber stamps I had, little "You Are Loved," and I think that's a really sweet touch. So I wrapped it all in tissue and put it in a beautiful gift bag, and I didn't see the mum open it at the baby shower. They've saved all the gifts, but I really hope she likes it. I think it's a very classic gift. I think it's quite hard knitting for people. Children and mums really have so much like personality and style now. There's lots of different sort of kids wear styles out at the moment, so I think if you can kind of keep it classic, then I don't think there's anything that someone couldn't like about those pieces that I made. So I really hope that she likes them, and yeah, and that you've been able to see here in this footage. It was so frustrating that it didn't come out. I got up really early so I could film and do it before I left, and obviously, yeah, hasn't worked out that great, but never mind. I'm back here to share all my other things with you. I'm going to give you an update on my Ursina sweater next, and that's in one of my big sweater sacks. And I have finished one of the sleeves, but I'm going to make some modifications, so that's why I thought I will give you an update on where I'm at with this. This is Ursina by Jacqueline C. Slack, and I've knit it in Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Merlot Heather colourway. And you can see that I finished the sleeve. I added some ribbing on the cuff. I think in the pattern it just tells you to bind off. It has a very simple finishing, but I like the idea of having a little, very small cuff, about 3 rows of ribbing I did there. And the sleeves are just going to be way too long. This is the correct length for me. I stopped when I got to my wrist point, but I looked at the schematic and the sleeves are written to be about 18 inches long, I think, for the size I'm making, and these are only about, I needed to stop at about 13, 14 inches. I measured some other sweaters that I've got that fit me well, and I think, yeah, they were around like 13 or 14 inches from the point where I picked up the stitches. So what I'm going to do is I've counted how many rows I knit from the picking up point to the end of the cuff, and I'm just going to work back from that and see, so how many decreases do I need to get from picking up the stitches to the cuff, and I'm just going to see how many times I'll need to do that decrease to get to the circumference needed for the cuff. So I think, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I think maybe it was like every 4 or 5 rows doing the decrease, and then that should get me to the right number of stitches at the cuff in this shorter sleeve. So I'll be decreasing more rapidly, and I think that should work out. Jacqueline's patterns are so well written, and I love the way they're laid out. I haven't mentioned this before, but she gives you a normal pattern where it's got all the photos and lots of information. She goes into a lot of detail about different techniques and where you need to make adjustments, and then she has a printable version, which is, I think, brilliant. So there's a few pages that you can print out with the pattern, and she's left blank spaces for you to write in your numbers. So you're not looking for your size in these brackets, and every time, usually I go through and highlight all my sizes or something like that to make it easy to read. But in this version of her pattern, you go through the pattern and she has lots of tables where it shows you the size you're knitting and what the number instructions are for that size. And then you'll see where you can fill in all those numbers through the pattern. So you print off a very printer friendly version with no pictures, so it's not using up loads of your ink, and it keeps it condensed for just folding up and putting in your bag. And yeah, you just fill in all your numbers, so when you come to an instruction, it'll say knit X for X many of rounds, you will put in your information there. And I love that. I think it's really nice when designers now use the PDF format to include loads of information or write clear instructions or add any little details like this with the printer friendly version, because I understand that previously, sort of when people were knitting and sewing, they may be working from books or magazines or printed patterns, and for the publishers, they needed to put as much information in a small space as possible um, to make that work for the magazine or for the book. You couldn't sort of go over pages and pages, so there was often much more short, snappy instructions. But now with a PDF, it doesn't really matter how many pages you've got, so I really appreciate it when designers put those little extra details in where they're not having to be so brief. And I really have enjoyed working from the pattern. I've used Jacqueline's pattern to knit my Rift tee, and that was the same, really very well written, straightforward, lots of detail, lots of pictures. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. I'll put that away and I will come back to you next time, hopefully with a finished sleeve on the other side. I'm obviously going to rip out the first sleeve. I've just left that because I think it's interesting to knit the second sleeve, and then I'll be able to try it on and see what the difference was between the two. Because to be honest, the first sleeve, it was wearable, it was just quite wide at the cuff, and I thought I would rather spend the time going back and making any changes that I need so it's just right for me, because that's the beauty of making your own clothes. You can make changes and make it fit you, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm enjoying the yarn. I think last time I sounded a bit unsure when I was talking about the wool of the Andes, and afterwards I couldn't put my finger on what I was trying to say, what I was trying to get across, and I realised afterwards, I think where what I was noticing that was different about this yarn to other 100% wools that I've used, like Law and the Jameson Smith, is that this yarn is a lot heavier. So something like the Law is really, really airy and lofty, and the sweater feels very, very light because of that, whereas this feels a lot more weighty and a lot more solid. So I think that's what I was trying to get at, because I was watching back the footage and I thought I was sounding like there was something I was trying to say about it, and I just couldn't find the words for it. I think that's what it was. I think it was the weight of the yarn seemed different to what I was used to. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's going to be really wearable. I saw a comment from one of you lovely viewers had put that they had knit a sweater and it had held up really well, and that they were really happy with the yarn and would recommend it. And I think, yeah, I can see that it's going to wear really well just from how I've been knitting with it and how it feels. It does feel like a very long lasting yarn. And yeah, I've actually ordered the sport weight version, and it's in an oatmeal shade, and I'm going to do a button up cardigan, like a v-neck cardigan. So I'll show you that in another episode when that arrives. It dispatched a few days ago, so hopefully it will arrive this week, and I'll be able to show you next time what my plans are for that yarn. But I actually ordered the the cardigan yarn, and I ordered some yarn for a hat. So I'll show you it's another kids collection pattern from Making Stories, and I thought I'd do this hat for my nephew. So yeah, you can see that. You can see actually all the kind of things that they have in the collection are really sweet. But yeah, I think that's going to look lovely. So I've ordered that in a yellow that will go with the mitts that I've been making for him. So I'll show you that next time as well. So I think the next thing I'm going to do, let me have a sip of my tea. I think I've worn my voice out from talking at the baby shower. I'm still not used to going out and socialising with people. And I was chatting for hours, so it was nice to have a little sip of my tea. Next thing I'm going to show you is a new bag, and this is something I have been working on for weeks behind the scenes, and yeah, I released it earlier this week and I've been so excited to show you guys on camera. I love these little gold details and how the little stars and everything came out. I think I said, it might have been on my Instagram, how it's so nerve-wracking doing a new print for the first time, because I usually start with like some sketches in my sketchbook, or I'll draw directly into the computer, and I use Illustrator to create the patterns. And there's a lot that goes into, once you've done the drawings, actually how you put that pattern together. So you want a pattern that's going to really take your eye around the whole piece. So I mean, you don't get it so much when you see it in a smaller area like this, but if you looked at something on a big scale, like on a wallpaper, what you don't want is your eye being drawn to certain things lining up or patterns. Sometimes your eye will start making a pattern in a fabric or something like that. You want, when it's this kind of scattered design, you want your eye to very gently kind of take in the whole piece and not be drawn to one thing exactly. So there's all these little things that you do, and I print out lots of tests on paper and I pin them to my bags to try and gauge how it's going to look. But obviously you don't know until you print them. And I send off my finished design to a screen maker, and they send me back these big metal frames that have mesh over the front, and my design is ready to print. So it blocks out the areas where the ink's going to go. It's clear, and all the other areas have got a special kind of chemical that blocks out any ink going through them. And so the first time I do that print, it's very nerve-wracking, and I always think I'm not going to like it or something's going to go wrong, like the stars maybe. Sorry, I think my camera cut out there, but I was just saying that it's very hard to get those small details to come out really nice and crisp and clear. And every time I do a design, I learn something. There's some small thing that I think, oh, I'd maybe do that slightly different, or this would have made it better, and I sort of bring that into my next design. Maybe it's like I'll notice a particular line weight worked really well, and I'll remember that for next time, and I'll use that as a starting point for the line weight. But anyway, I won't go into too much technical detail, but just so you know, a lot of love goes into making these designs, and especially at this time of year, it's always nerve-wracking anyway, because I work on a lot of these new ideas over the summer months. So over the summer it always tends to be a bit quieter, I think, for product-based businesses. And as you know, I mean, you see my videos every week. I've been selling things all through the year. I have project bags for all the seasons, but it definitely does quieten down a little bit through the rest of the year. And then the last quarter, especially around the holidays, and for knitters, like this is prime knitting time when you want your knitting bags. So even into the new year, like January, February, it's always a busier time. But in the summer months, that's when I do a lot of design work. And as you know, I've been working on the advent calendars. I've got this bag. I've got another gift box idea that's coming, and 2 new products that will be out next year. So I'm working quite far ahead, but I've got a new bag style and a new print design that will be coming next year. So those things that I'm working on behind the scenes, and you spend all of these hours and these weeks and weeks working on these projects, and you spend money investing in the fabrics to make these new products, and then sometimes I just have that crisis of confidence and think, is this going to be the one thing that people don't want? Because it's not enough for people to like it and think that yes, it's a cute product. It's someone's got to connect with it enough and love it enough that they want to buy it, and that's how I pay my bills. So as you can imagine, it's quite a tense time as you've sort of spent all those months maybe doing things that are not so sales based, and then now we're going into this last quarter when hopefully people will be wanting to buy these new things now they've seen them. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I think anybody who has a business has these thoughts, and you worry that it could all go away. But I have some really amazing customers, and one of the things I loved about the update that I did last time was so many people were people that have bought bags before. I think I'm a bit of a nerd and I like looking at all the numbers, and it was about 80% of the sales went to people that have bought bags before. So for me, that is just like the biggest compliment, the fact that someone's had something and they like it enough that they want more, and that they like the quality, because I do take a lot of time to really pay attention to the details and make sure that the things are very well made. So anyway, I think I've been rambling and probably showing too much about that whole process, when really I just wanted to show you that these were out and let you know that I have sewn a small batch so that I can put them in the shop as soon as this video goes live, because I know that most people that watch my YouTube videos are not on my newsletter. You might not follow me on Instagram, where I was talking about it earlier this week. So I wanted the people that are watching me here to have a chance to get the bags if that was something you wanted. So I sewed up a batch yesterday that I'm going to put when this video goes live. So if you want that, there'll be a link. My website's alexcollinsdesigns.com, and if you go /shop, you'll be able to find those there. So apart from bags, I've got maybe one more thing I think to show you, and this is in one of my Autumn Bloom Notion bags. These are in the shop still at the moment as well. I've got all my autumn stuff in there still, and I'm working on a little autumn project. So this is called Sweeping the Garden by what's her name? Barbara Anna Designs. That's it. And this is a suite. She's going to be a little witchy, and she has you can't really see it because, let me move this. I don't know if you've seen these before. These are like a needle minder. So underneath I've got, if I can show you that, it has, that's the magnet. I'll just hold that, and then that magnetizes to this, and then my needle magnetizes on there. So basically under there where I've got my needle minder will be a broom, and she has little pointy black boots. And in the finished piece, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the whole thing. I'll show you a quick photo. They tried to be prepared today, so we've got, this is what the finished piece looks like. So it is quite a small autumnal piece, but you can see she's got that broom, and then there's these like autumn leaves that go around the top. And yeah, I can't decide if I want to keep it in this tiny hoop or transfer it and do a bit this bigger kind of finish with the leaves going around. I really like decorating with these little tiny hoops. I've got a few of them, but and also I love stitching on these, so it's really handy. This is my bag that I've got, like got a needle book in here, which is where I keep all my pins and needles, and I've got all my embroidery floss and some snips. So I kind of like that when I do work with these little tiny hoops that they fit in my Notions bag. I mean, I've got bigger bags, so it's not as if I couldn't work from a bigger bag, but I really like just being able to use these little hoops. I think it's maybe like a 4-inch hoop. I've got so many different sizes. I've got all the different size hoops, but I like that it just fits in this tiny little bag, and I can just have it next to my chair, or I've got some little baskets around here, and it's so handy just having it all. I don't know why I like it, but I like having it in that little tiny bag. So that's what I've been working on, and yeah, I think it's going to look really cute displayed. I've got a little area just over here where I always put some little decorations out and things. I've noticed the little pumpkins and gourds coming into the shop, so I want to finish stitching her and have a little display of sort of autumnal things and some candles and stuff. Are you stitching anything? I'd love to know what you guys are working on while you've been watching. I always get some inspiration from your patterns and all your projects that you're working on and who you're knitting for. I bet some of you are organised and have already started your gift knitting as well. So let me know what you're working on, because I think that's all I've got to show for you today. I am going to take my cup of tea, and I'm going to go and relax for the rest of the day. Hopefully this video has come out much better and it's not so grainy. It's a very gloomy day. As I'm filming this, I've got an extra light on here and it's pouring with rain. I've got trees in front of me, and then you can usually see off quite far in the distance, but it's just fog past the trees. It's just misty, so visibility's low, rain's falling, it's very dark and gloomy, so it's definitely the kind of weekend just curl up with a cup of tea, work on my Osina sweater or do a little bit of stitching, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I hope you are going to spend the rest of the weekend working on some projects or doing something fun. So as I said, don't forget to let me know what you're up to in the comments below, and if you want to like the video, if you want to subscribe, you'll never miss another episode. Those are all great things you can do. And just a reminder that you'll find the link for looking at all the show notes and signing up for the email if you want to get the show notes for your for my next video. That'll be down in the description bar as well. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in a few weeks.